Moke and friends. Today is a very special episode. I have Jonathan Dade. Are you there?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
you,
How you
you,
doing,
you,
brother?
you looked frozen for a second. Now, before I start, I didn't know how to introduce you because I didn't know all of your credentials. And I see an MBA and an MTS. What is the MTS?
Well, first of all, I'm in my home office and I'm sitting there looking at all these things on the wall. But feel free to just introduce me as Jonathan. I mean, at the end of the day, I am the culmination of my life experiences. But yes, I have did some formal education after getting out of the military. I was a Navy officer. My
Mm.
MBA is a Master's in Business Administration. So I'm an MBA, and then my MTS is I'm a Master's in Theological Studies. So I went to seminary. So I have two master's degrees, one in business and one in theology.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a pastor?
I actually am, and even blow your mind a little bit more. I'm actually technically called a rabbi. I have an interfaith or a Jewish congregation, so got a lot of families where like the husband's Christian, wife is Jewish, and they come to a congregation such as ours. So some people call me Pastor Jonathan, some call me Rabbi Jonathan. But again, those are the least of my worries in life. So I'm just happy just to
Wow.
serve my community any way I can. It's kind of funny after serving in the military. Some of my friends, they'll find me on Facebook or they'll find me on LinkedIn. They're like, "Wait, you're a pastor now?" It's like, "Hey, slow down. I've gotten better since my Navy days,
I kind of don't know how I should talk now.
We should just talk. Like I said, my Navy days, I'm more worried about myself slipping up and saying a word I shouldn't say.
I feel that. Man, wow. Tell the people a little bit about yourself. I'm sorry, because I really want to jump into this politics, but I did not know the credentials you had by your name, and I always support a black man. You have multiple credentials that are like, man, my bad. I'm
Well, first of
excited.
all, it's important too because one thing that our community has always struggled with, the Black, African American, Brown community, is people do try to hold us down. They try to prevent us from rising above our environment and where we grew up. And so I always encourage people to pursue education. For me myself, I went to Prairie View A&M University on a full ride
You
scholarship.
went to Prairie View?
I went to Prairie View.
Wow.
Yeah, went to Prairie View, and it's funny. My dad was military too, so I moved a lot growing up. So I kind of lived a lot of different places. But went to Prairie View, went to TV, and after that, I went to the Navy. And the Navy, through my VA benefits, is what paid for advanced education and helped me kind of get where I am in life. So we were not rich growing up. I mean, I was the middle of five kids. Pretty much everything I got was hand me downs, and
Yeah.
kind of made my way up. And it was from the military, from Prairie View, and frankly, just taking chances in life at trying to better myself that I am where I am today. And so after getting out of the military, I worked in corporate America. I worked for PepsiCo Frito-Lay for a little bit. So pretty much if you ate a Frito-Lay chip in the Washington, D.C. and Virginia area, it came out of one of my warehouses. I was the zone operations manager. And then from that, I got recruited by Michelin, and that brought me back here to Texas and to Austin area. And, got married, settled down, had kids. So I'm done moving. I've moved a lot and found my way into ministry, and here I am.
Wow. I'm like, so you did business first?
Yes. I when I got out of the military, the great thing about military is as a Navy officer, you're used to leading people. You're used to getting things done. So pretty much you take your pick of jobs. I mean, every company's like, "Are you willing to be a shift supervisor, whatever?" That kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got recruited pretty easily into corporate America and rose the
Wow.
ranks. Actually, that's when I started my MBA program because I was gonna really make that. I was gonna look at becoming an executive for Frito Lay. And anyway, I guess God had different plans.
So what made you get into theology after you had the business?
Yeah, that's a good question. Without getting too spiritual, religious on it, I think we all have a purpose or a calling in this life. Would probably be the easiest way
Mm.
to explain it. And sometimes we know what it is. Sometimes we find it out later in life. For me, I never woke up one morning saying I want to be a full-time minister. It's like, oh hell no, man!
Yeah.
That never crossed my mind. But it was when God it's kind of like He gave me the vision in two steps. Step one was He wanted me out of the D.C. area and moving back to Texas, where my parents are, and I went to college out here. Obviously, I love Texas. And after I got here, I realized that there just wasn't a lot of vibrant, growing, interdenominational, interracial congregations. I
Yeah.
mean, church hour is the most segregated hour in America. And that's kind of
Yeah.
when God kind of gave me the second part of that vision, which was He wanted me to plant a church and to lead it. And so we did. We planted a congregation, a very unique type of congregation But I didn't want to just be that guy who's just a business guy or Navy officer turned
Yeah.
pastor. I mean, some of those are amazing testimonies, but I do believe in formal education. So then I went to seminary in the first year or two of the church plant, just so I could make sure that I was qualified to be leading a congregation. I mean, leading God's people is not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. Man, I wish I would have knew because now, dang. Wow. My mind is blown. My mind is blown. Now, before I get into, I guess, one of my first topics with you, I remember it was probably last year or whenever COVID had, it was kind of the middle of COVID. But I remember watching Black Tea Talk, and then your name started ringing up. And then I remember Smack was saying that yeah, there's this black dude. I don't think it's a black dude, but black dude who's running for mayor, Georgetown, yada yada yada. And so I was just like, yo, that's dope. So I instantly supported. And I mean, you came on the show a couple times, and we'll get to that. But my first question to you, because now that I know you like your credentials,
Mhm.
why would you want to run for mayor? Like
Well,
business and the theology and mayor.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's first be a little bit real for a second. So obviously, I have a screw loose in my head. I mean, because not only was I running for mayor, but I'm running for mayor in Georgetown, Texas.
Yes.
Which, I mean, if you watch the news, you watch our sheriff who's got indicted just recently over the killing of Amber Floyd. I mean, and it's just
Yeah.
Javier Ambler. Sorry, I'm getting some of my names mixed
George
up.
Floyd.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
but it's just there's so much going on that yes, I definitely I'm the way I call it is I'm a calculated risk taker. I mean, I'm not the kind
Yeah.
of guy that goes jumping out of planes, parachuting and all that kind of crazy stuff. But I do look at what is fun, what do I enjoy doing, but more importantly, what do I need to do? And we, as a community, I think we have taken a back seat and allowed other people to tell us when racism is over and allow other
Mhm.
people to tell us when it's our time. And
Yeah.
frankly, they're never going to give us our turn. So I said, I either got two choices. I can either move to go to a city where I feel that I'm more respected and liked and just embraced into the community. So I could either move to another one or I could work on fixing the community I'm in. And between my dad being military and me being military, I've moved over 26 times in my life. I'm done.
Mm.
I've got a family now. I'm ready to put down some roots.
Yeah.
And so I said, what's the easiest way to do this? It would be to run for mayor. And I say easiest as in you could go for school boards, you can go for city council, you can just be a volunteer in your community. But there's some corruption, there's some racism, there's some cronyism, I mean, just to give you an idea, I mean, I like to quantify things with numbers, obviously, as an MBA, as someone who's
Yeah.
educated. The mayor of Georgetown, Texas, makes $20,000 a year, and they're roughly a mayor for about 3 years, 3-year terms. So that's about $60,000 roughly is how much they make from being a mayor. It's a part-time position. Most mayors, they fundraise about 30, maybe $40,000 at most ever throughout the history of Georgetown in order to campaign to become mayor. So you raise $40,000 a year for a job that pays 60. That seems a little bit off, but okay, sure, whatever. Um, when I did my big campaign announcement party that I was going to run for mayor, going to be the first black mayor in Georgetown. I'm going to shake shit up. We're going to
Yeah.
change things around. They raised over $120,000 to make sure that their guy was going to win. That is literally twice as much money as that person would make in the 3 years that they would
Wow.
be there. If that does not say what cronyism is, I don't know what does. And that's why I ran because I wanted to show the people that you do have a choice, and I'm going to run again too.
But what process do you have to go through to run?
Well, before I get into like maybe the logistics of what you have to do to run, I
Mm-hmm.
want to encourage your audience and anyone listening in that it is first of all as simple as making the decision. I'm also an endurance cyclist, so I ride about 5 to 6 thousand miles every year, so about 100 miles a week, and so it's a lot of hours. But sometimes people say, well, how do you do that many miles? Well, it starts with the first mile. It starts with putting on your bike clothes, getting your tires
Mm.
aired up, and just getting out there. In
Yeah.
the city of Georgetown, you just sign a piece of paper that says I'm running. You have to start filling out campaign finance reports, and you just tell people I'm going to do this. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. I think the filing fees were less than $100, if you're running for like Senate or House of Representatives or stuff, some of those filing fees are in the thousands of dollars, so maybe
Mm.
$2,000 or $5,000. But again, it's you just it's not, the process is not terribly difficult.
Yeah.
The most difficult process is, are you really going to be ready for the attacks that are going to come? I mean, Rosa Parks saying, yeah, I'm just going to sit my happy butt down and y'all just
Yeah.
have to do something about it. That's the easy part. I mean, and I'm not
Right.
saying easy as in I'm diminishing what she did. That's step one. The harder part is all the attacks that you and your family and friends are going to be receiving afterwards.
Now,
That
what wasn't there a attack with you over a parking space
oh,
and
first First of all, I want to be clear. So I've been married 10 years, but before that, I was a sailor, both physically and symbolically. So
yeah.
if that's what they want to bring on me as that parking spot, I'm good, man. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a
yeah.
lot worse things. So many girls and parties and
Yeah.
oh my goodness, man. Anyway, but
But
so there's these parking spaces. But again, it's I mean, I can talk about the specific issue, but the bigger overarching issue is $120,000, twice as much as
right.
someone would make in a year, was raised to make sure the system stays as it is. So it's easy to pay for political assassins
Right.
who literally would take a YouTube video. I mean, they're probably going to take this one. They'll edit here, and they'll kind of, piece it all together and make it sound like I said,
Yeah.
donkeys and elephants should go die and jump off a cliff or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And it's like they just edit it out. They make things how they want to sound. And they have a lot of money to do so. So I'm glad your technology looks a little bit better than theirs, so we know it's real and it's not. But yeah, there's the parking spot was there's some parking spaces here in Georgetown that it just says like, thank you for your service, and it says wounded veteran. So there's no other verbiage, there's no words that say you have to be wounded during a certain time frame, you have to be wounded to a certain percentage, and then it had like a little logo of one of the medals that you can receive while you're serving in the military. So I figured that was just a parking spot for any veteran who's wounded, and I am 10% disabled. I'm actually fighting for a higher disability rating because the rating they gave me is not in keeping with the disability I sustained. But anyway, so I sometimes park in that spot. I've always seen some of those spots empty. No one ever parks in those spots. It's kind of like at
Yeah.
HEB, it has that like that spot for the moms
The
with the
mom,
baby,
yeah.
but no one ever uses them. So
I know.
I'm like, why even waste a spot then? So I park in it. But if there's someone who wants to park in it, sure, you can park in it, no big deal. Well, they use this as like I'm stolen valor, and stolen valor
Yeah.
are the people who either never served or they were like a desk clerk, but they say I'm a Navy SEAL and I shot Osama bin Laden. It's like, no, you didn't, man. No,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
so they use those lies. And then the other lie they like to use was that I'm a philanderer. Like there's all these women, and I'm like, first of all, I mean, yes and no. I mean, golly, I'm an endurance cyclist. I travel the world. Yes,
Right.
there are many women in my sphere of influence that I could take them up on their offers, but no, I haven't done that. So
Right.
it's like nah. But yeah, they twisted words to try
But
to assassinate me.
let me ask you this:
Sure.
as you were running, and I remember the parking lot thing, and I think there was like a picture of like a tequila bottle or
Oh, that
something.
was the best.
But let me ask you this: as a black man, how did that make you feel that they followed you all the way to a black platform to try to shit on you? Like,
Yes.
I mean, I know it's funny, whatever, but like, how did that really make you feel that these people are not gonna listen to Black Tea Talk? That they've really followed all this way just to come to a platform that gives to black people to say like, hey, this man, and I mean, of course, everybody shitted on him, but how does that make you feel though?
Well, I mean, there's a multiplicity of feelings, right? So on one aspect, it makes me feel honored that they realize that I am that much of a threat. So it's like, damn right, you better be scared. You better
Yeah.
follow me everywhere to try to get me. And that whole tequila thing, man, first of all, my wife just bought a new hot tub, and she actually even used some of my military benefits to help get it because it, kind of eases some of my sciatic injury. And so we
Yeah.
got some discounts on it. And I just had a little bottle of tequila, and I said, man, and first of all, I don't even like tequila. I'm more of a wine drinker myself.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was like, hey, you might want to come over. And they're like, oh, he's inviting debauchery. I'm like, I'm a grown ass man who wants to sit in my hot tub and drink some tequila.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so just, so it made me feel honored that they realized I am that much of a threat. And you are going to need to raise a lot of money to try to beat me. And with
Hmm.
1/10 the amount of money that they raised, I got almost a third of the vote. So imagine what I'm going to be able to do when I run
Wow.
again. So with barely maybe 20% of the amount of money, because I'm not going to try to outfund them. I don't need to waste money like that.
Right.
So it made me feel good. What was scary, and frankly, to the fact that it even scared my wife, was and not to get too deep too fast into this, but they had a goal in mind. Their goal was two parts, and they even said it in social media. If you saw what they said, we're going to run you out of town, and we're going to get you in jail. And they actually found a way to weaponize the police against me by chopping up something I said and sending it to the police, and said that he is a threat against himself and to other people. Police showed up at my doorstep.
Yeah, I saw that they made you try to seem like you were crazy.
Yes, yes, and that I was a danger, because
Yeah.
basically they want a black man in jail. I have absolutely no criminal history. I've never been arrested, never done any drugs, and that's what scared them the most, is that they're like, dang it, the black people actually have someone. Now, I'm not saying that some of our people in the past, that they're horrible people for some of the mistakes they've made. They still have done amazing things in the civil rights movement.
Right.
But to have someone like me who is trying to do things in the civil rights movement and I don't have a rap sheet, that's what really scares them. Not a
Yeah.
single felony, misdemeanor, nothing. And so they were on it. And all I needed to do was, like, what if I had an anxiety attack that day, or a little twitch, or just something? A bee tries to sting me and I'm swatting at it. Literally, that could have been my last day on this earth.
Oh
And
man, yeah.
my wife was very upset about it. It was a surreal experience to me,
Yeah.
for me. But yeah, they tried their hardest, but they did not win. And when they're watching this later and trying to chop this one up, yeah, I'm gonna run again, guys, and you're gonna have to try a lot harder than you did the first time.
And if y'all chop this up, I'm suing. It's
Oh
copyright.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly, exactly.
So let me ask you: did you deep down did you think you were gonna win, or did you know it was gonna be like some type of BS?
I've got to be honest, right? I didn't know. There's part of me that just wanted to be optimistic, like I'm going to do the best I can, and I have the potential to. I think everything changed. The local elections here in Georgetown, Texas, are actually in May. A lot of
Mm,
people don't know that. Other cities and counties, their local elections, and I say local as in city manager, or sorry, not city manager. City council, mayor, county judge, sheriff. Those are typically local elections in some
yeah.
cities and counties. So those might be in May or any random month. They decided to move ours into November because of COVID and some other things, and that made it a big political national rhetoric issue. I think I might have had a
Mm,
higher chance to win outside of that, but then when it became a national thing, and that bleeds over into the whole black versus white. So of course Johnson
yeah.
Dade is BLM, and of course he's secretly a liberal, et cetera, et cetera. So it made a lot of noise in the system. So I think it decreased my chances. Anyway, but back to your question, did I think I was going to win? I was hopeful that it was possible, but you also have to look at, how do you quantify winning? The previous guy that was going to run for another term, as soon as they did some polls, basically to figure out his chances, it looked like he was going to get his butt spanked. So they were
Yeah.
like, "Dang it!" So they couldn't let him run for another term. But then the powers that be, these old white guys, they didn't want me to be the mayor, so they had to choose a different guy. So I
Yeah.
won in getting the previous guy out. I did not win getting their new guy, but I will beat him next time. That's for darn sure.
And so y'all campaign around Georgetown?
Oh yes, sir. Yep. Yeah. It's being a city election. There was really not a lot of need to campaign outside of the city, but I do have friends, around the world, frankly, who supported me, and
Yeah.
did the best we could.
Now let me skip to the because I'm curious. Being black in Georgetown, and now I know that you are in a mixed racial relationship.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
what are they called? Mixed
It,
racial.
you know, it,
Interracial. I'm dating a Mexican chick. I should know this. Interracial, interracial, interracial relationship. So you're in that. So when the attacks are happening to you, how's your wife feeling?
Well, so and it's funny. I don't even know either. Is it interracial, biracial, and this is the person I'm with right now. So my wife, she's blonde hair, blue eyes, from upstate New York. We met at a Bible conference. It was funny though. She's going home telling her friends, "I met the guy I'm gonna marry," and I was still in the Navy back then. I was like, "Oh, that's a cute girl." And then I went back to the next girl. And it wasn't until years later that I settled down and actually, like, I remember that girl a couple years back. She's
Yeah,
wife material.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
But anyway, so we're here in Georgetown, Texas. I mean, very low black percentage here in Georgetown, Texas. It has a history. But one thing I got to tell you is it's never been an issue to be black
Okay.
around white people. The issue has always been you're black and you're talking. You're trying to become somebody. Oh, you want to be a
Oh
shift
yeah,
supervisor?
yeah,
As
yeah.
long as you walk on the other side of the sidewalk, everything is fine. As long as you just yes, sir, yes, I'm just lower your head down, everything is fine. But once you start running for mayor and all crazy stuff like that, that's when it gets weird. And my wife is stuck between a rock and a hard place because we are faith-based conservatives. So because of our faith, we tend to lean a little bit more towards constitutional rights. We prefer pro-life, things
So
like that.
would
Because
you
of
call yourself a Republican?
I actually am, even though I turned in the Republican leader into the police for stealing my campaign signs. I have no problem holding my
Huh?
own people accountable. I'll tell you about that later. But yes,
Yeah.
I actually do identify as a conservative. I voted conservative pretty much in every election. Although
Did you vote for Trump?
oh no, 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 no,
Oh
no,
man.
no, no, no. No, I'm not that crazy. That's a whole nother. I'm Republican more when it comes to, like I said, being fiscally conservative, pro-life. Obviously, I'm pro-guns, things like that. But I'm actually probably more of a moderate because obviously, I mean, I'm black. I understand the black, brown, immigrant community. Typically, the Republicans don't do well to support us. Every time I go to an event with Governor Abbott or some of the other Republicans that I network with, I'm usually the only black person in the room. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and some of the white people, they're kind of funny too. They're like, Jonathan, we like you. You're one of the good ones.
Oh
And
man.
I'm just like, that's a closet racist statement. And then they're
Yeah.
like, how can we get more people like you? And I'm like, well, first of all, you got to start with not saying what you just said. That'd
Yeah.
probably be a good place to start. But anyway, it's just it depends on the issues. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, Trump is a whole nother thing. I mean, that's just dividing the whole Republican Party because they're putting affiliation over what's right. And I find that so odd too because Republicans champion this idea of they call it rule of law. So
Mhm.
basically, we just want to enforce the law. So these are our immigration laws, and if immigrants don't do that, then we should send them back. But it's funny, if they break the law, then all of a sudden they're not rule of law anymore. And I'm like, you're a little
Right,
hypocrite.
right.
So rule of law means Trump needs to be in jail, and a whole bunch of other people do because you broke the law. I thought you said we're all about what the law says. Here's even another one. Just recently, you know how some of us in our communities we like to get those rims that have the thing that jets out, and kind of spins as you're going, and
Oh, the elbows. Yeah.
yeah, the elbows. Yeah, man. Well, it's funny. They recently just outlawed, and I'm not going to mention the state, but they just made those illegal to basically criminalizing those elbows if they stick out past your side view mirrors. And obviously, that's a law, just another law to try to put people like us in jail over some
What?
stupid stuff. Yeah. But someone made a comment. They said, it's interesting. We have all these, country white guys with all these huge tires, huge,
Yeah,
big
yeah,
tires that stick out past their side mirrors. Are we going to outlaw those too? It's like, ooh, crickets. So
yeah.
it's specifically making a law that's targeting our community, not yourself. So they're just trying to get us in jail.
I
They just want us in jail. That's all.
I know that can't be Texas.
I'm gonna
It,
leave that one on the table. Let some
oh
people do some
man.
research.
Oh man. Yo. So now I want to talk about MAGA and the MAGA code. I did not know you were a Republican. So now this just makes everything interesting
Oh,
because
it gets interesting.
I thought you were a Democrat. Me myself, I don't really say I'm anything. I kind of go by the policy of don't don't vote, don't bitch. You know what I mean? So like, if I'm not voting, I'm not gonna bitch about. The last time I did vote was for Bernie Sanders, before the Trump election, and the time before that was what's his name, John Edwards versus Bush.
Mhm.
So, and I didn't even vote for Obama, but since being a conservative, what made you know from the jump, like, hey, I shouldn't vote for Trump? Because a lot of people that are conservative, they seem to be brainwashed, or they roll with them. So why didn't you ride with them?
Well, so that's a very good question. So, part of it goes back to why I am, and I prefer to use the term conservative instead of Republican.
Okay.
And it's not for semantics or anything like that. It's
Right.
mainly because I don't see myself as a Republican. I see myself more as a moderate. And whoever aligns with my values and ideals and beliefs, that's who I'm going to vote for. So for me, that might mean this person or it might mean this other person. I tend to leave on the conservative side because of my biblical beliefs. Like I told you, the ones I told you about. But it's not on every single thing I lean on the
Wait,
conservative side. Sure.
time out. I have a question, man. I'm glad you said this, and I've been wanting to kind of talk to somebody who's like a pastor of some sort on the show, but I think a lot of them see the show and they're just like, no. But now I always say with you're Chris, you're not Christian.
Well, I'm Messianic Jewish, but Christian would be a fair
But
enough term.
but
Yeah.
it's like kind of the same
Yeah, like
laws
whether
and
you're
stuff like that.
Baptist or Methodist or Episcopalian, we're all in
Right.
the same bucket. Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So how is it possible for anybody to be president if you have to like give orders to kill people, and if one of the commandments is thou shalt not kill?
Bingo. And that's one of the reasons why I could not support President Trump as a Christian, because Christians were using the argument he is going to champion the Bible more than this liberal who's anti Judeo Christian values. But
Right.
this person that the Christians are endorsing is a person who does unchristianly behaviors. You can't go around, hiring prostitutes and talking about grabbing women's by their whats and
Yeah.
and then some Christian pastor saying, "That's my guy. He champions our
Yeah.
values." No, no, no. You cannot say that. So
Yeah.
that's why for me, I was like, as a Christian or as a pastor, as a minister, as someone who has biblical beliefs, I can't say that's my boy. I can't say that. At the best, maybe I can just vote for him secretly and never tell anyone. But I could never say
Yeah.
that's who I like. He represents our church. Like,
Yeah.
no, he does not represent my congregation. So anyway, so back to your question, that's why I didn't vote for him, because I was like, I can't. You don't champion my values. You might champion some of the things I hold dear, but as a holistic entity, as a person, no. I only lean towards conservative or the Republican values for those reasons. And if you're against those, then we don't even have a relationship anymore. There's
Yeah.
nothing me and you have in common. And what's interesting is when I did my seminary degree, my MTS, my Master's in Theological Studies, one of the things we did was we studied cults. Sad news, I'm not going to try to, demean my family or anything like that, or my friends and family who are still there. But I grew up in a church that I learned later in life was a cult. And it wasn't until,
What?
yeah, it wasn't until I actually went to the Navy
Like
that,
like a David Koresh call?
yeah, it's pretty cultish cult. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, we're talking like the leader is able to sleep with any woman in the church he wants to, and
Oh
a lot of
man.
weird type stuff. And
That's a scary cult, man.
yeah, they had some reckoning. And again, I'm not here to blast them or anyone like
Right.
that. But what I will say is, when I was in the Navy, being born into it's like no difference. It's like being born in a cave. You don't know what the
Right.
light
Yeah.
looks like. Well, once
Yeah.
I got to the Navy, got out and started experiencing other people and cultures, I was like, what was I in? Got out of it as soon as possible and learned a lot. And anyway, on top of that, when I was in my seminary program, we studied cults. And some of the stuff I was able to resonate with, like, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. So you can be a cult two different ways. One way to be a cult is basically in what you believe. And really, by definition of the word cult, it's if you believe anything that's different. Like technically, Christianity is a cult of Judaism because they're different than Judaism.
Mm.
Catholicism is considered a cult to Protestants. And basically anything that's outside of the normal is considered a cult. So I don't like to use that definition because it's very slippery. It just basically means anything that's different is a
Right.
cult. So by definition, if there was only a Republican Party, then Democrats would be cults, so et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second definition of a cult, and this is the one where it really actually kind of helps you understand who really is a cult. It's what do they do? So now we're talking about a leader who says, "Do what I say, don't question me." We're
Yeah.
talking about I need to isolate you from your friends, because if you talk to your friends and you tell them, "Hey, they want us to go down to this country and we're going to drink Kool-Aid with cyanide in it and die." I just want you to take care of my house. Most of your friends will probably be like, "That's a stupid idea." So
Yeah.
in order to prevent, that from happening, they just say, never talk to any friends, only talk to the people in our group, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things are how you So whether or not what you believe, it's how you act. You act as a cult. 100% convinced that Trump has become, or I should say, his following, everything around him has become a cult. It is a cult. It is a. I mean, like I'm talking like I know leaders in the Judeo-Christian faith who literally went to their whole church and said, "I believe God has told me that I need to be the seed bearer for this congregation." So what that means is, don't have sex with your wives. I and these other designated men, like 2 or 3 of my best friends, will take care of all of that for you. All procreation will come from us because we are the designated DNA seed bearers. And the women agree and the men agree. If I was in a church like that, the only question I would ask would be like, okay, so just walk me through again what you said. I just want to make sure I'm clear with what you said. Okay, so you said, don't have sex with my wife and you're going to do it. And then, pow, just knock
like
out of them.
who's listening to that older than the age of 14?
You'd be grown men and women. So, and that's why. So when he's just saying we need to defend our democracy and they storm the Capitol, and I'm not even going to get into all the different things he's done. Anyone older than 14, or frankly even older than 4, should be like, that's a really weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But then people do it. That is a cult. That is a cult. There's just nothing else to call it, because you're putting, I'm going to follow this person, and person and relationship is over principle. That's wrong. That's wrong.
So do you think well, no. So during this whole MAGA shit, you're running for mayor. and I'm sure Georgetown is MAGA'd up. I know a white guy who's from Wisconsin, and he told me he used to live in Georgetown, and he said it even made him feel uncomfortable.
Oh, yes.
And he's white. You know what I'm saying? He said that like they come up like, hey, what's up, brother? Like that Aryan type brotherly stuff. He said like that's how it was for him.
It's even worse than that. We have a big Confederate monument. That's the tallest statue in our whole city at the courthouse on the south side. We've got guys who dress up in big Confederate costumes, and they're there. We even had a Southern ball here in the city before. Big Confederate Southern ball hosted by, guess who? The mayor's wife. So, I mean, yes, the South and Confederacy is alive.
Why would you want to run? Why would you want to be mayor in a place like that? Why would you want to be mayor in a place where you know they're not going to respect you as a educated black man?
Because when I do win, they're going to have to.
Let's talk about it, man. I love it. But I mean, I like that. I like that you have thick skin like that, because I feel like I have thick skin, but I don't know if I would be able to handle all that. Like, I don't know if I would be able to handle me being a guest on a podcast and then all these white women calling, trying to say something about parking spot or being drunk at the clubhouse or whatever. Or what was it? What's the place that white people go to?
Yeah, the country club.
The country, and you were at the country club, and I'm just like, yo, a black man legitimately at a country club is good enough for me. I don't give a fuck if he's drunk or what. Like, if you're there, you deserve to be there.
Oh yeah, and that country club, right? They're pending litigation, so they might want to keep their mouth shut. Just wait.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you.
What? Can you talk about that? What happened with that?
Sure. So, and again, I like to just be very open. I actually wrote a book 2 years ago, and it's kind of a mixture between an autobiography, but also just my life story. And I don't have a copy with me. I would show you. Actually, hold on. Oh man, it's called The Church in the Community, and it was just basically a compilation of my life story, and it actually includes what I'm about to tell you about this the country club. And people can find it. Frankly, you got my name on the screen, Jonathan Dade. You go to jonathandade.com.
Yeah, you're just doing all types of flexing. MBA, MTS, author.
Yeah.
It was casual.
Yeah, no big deal. But yeah, just jonathandade.com. Frankly, guys, send me an email. I'll send you a book. It's not about the money. It's about the influence. But so my parents, middle of 5 kids. My mom worked in a school. My dad was Air Force and then got a job as a contractor. And with 5 kids, we didn't really have a lot of money. My parents did great. They provided for us. We always had food on the table. I mean, sometimes though, remember when McDonald's did those 29-cent hamburgers, 39-cent cheeseburgers?
Oh yeah.
and it's like a limit of 20. Man, my dad would send us in with a $20 bill, send another one in. He'd go through the drive-through. We'd go home. We'd put all those suckers in the freezer. And every day you're allowed to take one out and eat that, man. Still to this day,
Hey.
I hate refried food, man. Anyway,
Oh.
but yeah, so my parents, they actually never owned a home growing up. They just
Mm.
never had enough money to buy a home, always rented. And right when I was going to college, my dad finally started saving up enough, got enough money. Half of us were already out of the house, and his first home was a little bit off away from a country club. And it was kind of like he kind of felt like he kind of made it in life. I mean, he wasn't like,
Yeah.
like prominent on the club. I don't even think he even had membership to it, but it's like he was as close to it as he can get.
Yeah.
And frankly, I always had this dream and desire of mine. I am going to buy a house in a country club community. I'm going to be right there with the white people, whether or not they like me or not. I'm going to be like, I
Yeah.
done made it. And
Yeah.
so I did. We bought a house, and it's in a country club community in Oakcrest too. You can come find me. It's cool. I carry. Anyway, but yeah, so we're here, and the first thing I did was we became members at that country club, only black members, and that club has been around since like the 1920s. They've never had a black director of the country club. So guess who made sure I ran to be a director, and I won by one vote. I
Wow.
won by one vote, and that's when it started. Because then it's not like I'm just there. I mean, they had black people there like cleaning toilets or serving, but they didn't
Oh,
have black
come on.
members. They didn't have black
Yeah.
a director, let
Like,
alone.
is everything free at the country club?
Oh no, very a little bit costly, a little bit costly.
Oh, really? I heard that everything was free. Like you could just say you can get you a drink, a burger.
Not quite. It's free from the standpoint that you pay a membership fee, and then so that might be a couple $100s a month. And but coming from corporate America, we had a little bit of a nest egg, so we were doing okay for ourselves. And then basically, like when you go there, you just say your name or your number, and everything you get, they put it on basically your card at the end of the month. So you never actually, you just get a bill and you
Wow.
just pay for it like it's nothing. And some people expense it, as a business expense and whatnot. So but no, it is a little bit costly, but it's also one of the surviving racist institutions. And so I became a director, started making some changes, and as an
Yeah.
MBA, I know how to make changes to improve a business. I mean, that's what I do, and it really upset people, so they made a petition to have me removed from the club, and they literally said the petition. They had 60 people sign it, and so there's a certain percentage, and they said, and this is after people told me interracial couples are despicable. It's all in the book. They told me that because they knew I was married to a white woman. One guy literally pointed at me. One of the directors, he said, "There's going to be a hanging if you go to the next meeting." And
What?
yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
at the country club?
yes, that's in the book too. And then it came down to they had the petition, and they said there's some sugar in the club and there's some shit in the club, and the shit has until Saturday to be gone or else.
When you live in the 1800s, man?
No, brother. This was like 2017, 2018.
What?
And they said, yeah, the shit has till Saturday to be gone or else. And I mean, obviously, I'm not stupid. If you tell me there's going to be a hanging if I go to the meeting, and I better be gone by Saturday or else, I mean, that's just pretty much obviously very directly a death threat.
Are,
So
are are these old white people?
of course, yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
So I left the club, but it wasn't after I made a post that went viral. And there is we coming for you. We coming for you guys.
Yeah. do you still live there?
I actually do still live here, yes, in this community.
But you just don't go to the country club?
I don't want to get killed, not today.
You think they would?
I actually do.
Really?
Yeah.
But how are your neighbors? Are your neighbors? Is it like? I feel like it's weird to live there.
See, it depends on how you want to look at it. Yes, it is very weird. It was very scary, very dangerous for Rosa Parks just to sit her butt down. Who knows what was going to happen next? I would imagine Martin Luther King felt the same way walking into the Capitol or to the Capitol or some of the other places he did something. There is an anxiety I feel each and every time I drive into my own neighborhood because I have to pass that country club. It's the only entrance, into our neighborhood.
Yeah.
But my work is not done yet, and right now it's called Georgetown Country Club. Maybe we'll get that name changed to Jonathan Dade Country Club when we're done. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
But what about your kids?
See, so my kids. So it's interesting. So interracial marriage. My wife's white. We didn't have children naturally, and we looked at our options. You know, you can do this medical procedure, that medical procedure. But after weighing our options, we decided there's a lot of kids in need that don't have parents. So we ended up fostering, and then our children became eligible for adoption, and we adopted them. So they're white. They're both white. In fact, actually, they kind of look a little bit almost like my wife. So most people just kind of assume that they're children from like her previous
Bruh,
marriage or something.
I'm not even gonna lie. I thought the same thing.
Well, first of all, I actually like I like that stereotype because then it makes me look like I'm the nice guy. Like she obviously
Right,
had a
right,
bad marriage, and
right.
I just took
Yeah.
them all in.
Like
Just
yo,
being like,
and this black man take care of this. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just such a nice guy like that. Yeah. But no, so I mean, we've had some rough conversations with the kids, like, hey, daddy's not allowed. Black people are not allowed in that club anymore, and they understand it as just a statement of fact. And we
Wow.
adopted them
Yeah.
early enough on. They don't see me as anything other than their dad.
Right.
They
Right.
don't have any knowledge of their previous life. But yeah, they understand it. But the thing is, children, children and animals, they don't see racism. I mean, and
Right.
but I hate the term colorblind because if you're colorblind, you need to go to the doctor and get that checked
Yeah.
out and all of that.
Yeah.
We see color, right? A
Right. Yeah.
dog.
That's why I tell people I see color.
Yeah, you
I
see
can
color.
never be. Yeah.
It's what you decide to do with it. They look at me and they're
Right.
like, and what's really funny is when people like, your kids, they kind of look like you, and I'm just like, stop it, just stop it.
Oh man.
Like they do not look like me. Don't even try to act nice. It's just they're white, I'm black. It's just two polar opposites,
but as a biracial or what's the word? An interracial couple, like, are you gonna teach them black values, seeing that they're white, or are you just gonna just kind of just go with life? Because like with my kids, they're black and Mexican, but
Mhm.
I still try to teach them a little black values. But I feel like your case is a little bit different.
So what I'm gonna have to do, and I say have to because unfortunately, as I continue down this path to racial equality, even here in Georgetown, I mean, we're talking the belly of the beast. My
Mm.
children are going to be treated a certain way because of me, and I've
Right.
accepted that reality. So, and also, our church, for example, we're about half black, half white, almost.
Hmm.
So they're. I mean, some of their best friends. Actually, my son's best friend definitely is one of the black kids at our congregation. My wife, or not my wife. Sorry, my daughters. She has different friends, and but anyway, so they don't see color as a you're lesser or better or not or whatever
Right.
situation because for them, whether it's at church or whether it's in our home, we're just all here together.
Right.
But I am gonna, unfortunately, and I've already taken them to Prairie View and let them walk the campus. They've been around my uncle playing dominoes, slamming them on the
Yeah.
table. So they've been around all this, but I'm gonna make sure that they understand the community that their father represents,
Right.
and that's just gonna be something that they're learning, and they also get a little bit of it from the standpoint of, we have some Jewish traditions that we follow in our faith, in our particular congregation, and some of their friends are like, oh, why do you do that? It's just like you just need to feel proud for what you do, and if people want to hate on
Yeah.
you, let them hate on you. So our children
Yeah.
are learning to do that, and I think that will position them well to do well just in society in general.
Right. Now, I want to jump around real quick
Yeah,
because
go
since
ahead.
we're talking about interracial relationships and everything and religion, let's talk about, can you find a middle ground, whether it be like what you say, Jewish, like if somebody's Jewish and somebody's Catholic.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know too much about Catholics, so I don't know if that's like the same. But or if you're married like to somebody who's Democrat and
Hmm.
you're conservative,
Hmm.
like how do? Because my thought process was I have you seen the movie Get Out?
Yes. Yeah.
That movie, once I saw that movie, I remember talking to my ex who was this white girl, and I was like, if I would have saw that movie with you, I probably would have felt the type of way. So now that you're a black man, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure your wife's conservative also too.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so your wife's conservative, but the struggle is different. When I say the struggle is different, I mean that I had a conservative ex girlfriend when black people were getting killed who would be like, well, they should stop resisting.
Oh yes. Well, hold on. Before I answer that question, I'll let you guys meet my wife here. So this is Melinda.
How you doing? I'm Moke.
Oh, hold on.
How are
He
you?
just said hi. You know.
Hi,
How are you doing?
doing well.
I'm asking him some interracial questions.
So I'll just for this one question, I'll keep my
Yeah.
earphones off. Hope you can hear me okay. So he was asking Melinda, like, you know, is there a middle ground, you know, and how do we feel after, you know, we see some of the racial tensions? And even my wife, you know, she went to a BLM protest with me, and you know, she kind of was debating between, like, you know, she's getting looks from some of the black women like, oh man, you took one of them kind of looks, you know. And but yet they're supporting you know, the speech that I gave. And the easiest example I can give is once upon a time, you know, it used to be like, if I'm let's just say she's a vegan, you know, and she doesn't eat any meat. But I love going down to Texas Longhorn Steakhouse and just, you know, plowing into a good steak or whatnot. It used to be people like us would be able to date, you know, like, you know, hey, we might go to Texas, you know, steakhouse, and she's ordering a salad and I'm ordering a steak. And we understand that that's different. Or after you get married, you know, she'll cook a dish for her and she'll cook something for me, and maybe it doesn't have steak or whatever, or meat. And even down to the point that she might even cook me a vegetarian meal. Now, I may not really like a vegetarian meal, but it used to be people could essentially agree to disagree, right?
Right.
We are so far away from that concept. I don't know what it is. It's like, oh, you want to eat meat? That means you hate me. You hate me. It's like, no, it doesn't mean I hate you. It just means I have a different diet than you. And that's what I think it's come to where there is no such thing as a middle ground. If, like, for example, she has decided she doesn't want to get the vaccine. She does not want to get the vaccine.
Thanks for putting that out.
Oh,
Oh,
shoot.
you don't want to get
You
it?
want to tell people? Oh, shoot.
Oh no, man, it's fair. I just found that it was free. I didn't know it was free.
Yeah, and then I decided that I am going to get it for my own personal reasons. And we haven't had a fight as far as our marriage over that, but we've had some of our friends that get on my case for not forcing her to get it. And then, you know, friends that get on her case for allowing me to get it. And it's like, how come we can't just make decisions? First of all, Melinda, how do you feel about there being a middle ground about, you know, being black versus white or Democrat versus Republican?
It's been very hard, especially over this past year. I mean, I'm clearly supportive of, you know, learning different cultures and accepting everyone for who they are and where they come from. But
Right.
being white, it's hard because in conversations I have with Jonathan, I'm like, well, geez, I'm the enemy here. So
What do you say to that though?
It's very complex because, you know, I even go back and I look, oh man, hey Jonathan, look at my ancestors. They were abolitionists. I go, so, you know, how do you fix this when it's very complex.
Yeah.
You know, as far as you know, what white people were actually the people that are putting black people in a situation that's not the best for them. And so
Yeah.
I think honestly mutual respect and having more people that are outspoken and loud about respecting humans for who they are is where you start, but it's pretty bad out there.
And real quick, tell them your thoughts real quick on the Confederacy.
Oh, well, I live in Texas, but I was born in upstate New York, so I'm a Yankee.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the weirdest thing having
It is.
monuments and Confederate Heroes Day. I go, I thought they lost.
Yeah, they did. Yes. Now, let me ask you this. And then this is the last thing. So, how was it being a white woman who's married to a black man who's going through all these weird allegations during his mayor run?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, it's very hard in this day and age to tell whether.
No, but I mean, how did it make you feel? Because I'm pretty sure some people expected you to side with them or looked at you crazy because you were with him, and obviously they were just really just trying to throw dirt on his name. So just being that they were probably, I don't really know the question what I'm saying, because I just know Georgetown is very white. And so I'm expecting they wanted you to be very white too, with how they were judging him.
Yeah. I think it in general, I think people don't treat people that run for office as humans. Whatever race you are, that's one thing. But the second thing, honestly, he got heat from both sides.
Really?
So, I think, you know, he wasn't white enough or he wasn't black enough. I just wish people would let him be who he is. I think there was a lot of people that, based by the judgment of his skin color, decided what political party he was. And
Yeah.
I think people need to look at people for who they are and not, I guess, what they are.
Or not what people perceive them to be.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, cool, Melinda. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
You too.
All right, let me throw these earphones in so I can hear you and whatnot. But yeah, the middle ground was difficult, and especially even
that one weirdo Giovanni was even doing that thing of, we need to do what we can to protect his wife and kids from him.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't feel like they need to be protected from me. And so it's like, even though they were trying to pull, my own family away from me as the, crazy, scary black man, obviously my family's like, he's not a crazy, scary black man.
Yeah. So they tried to make you, they were like, this man is probably suffering from PTSD and he was injured. And so he's probably like, they tried to make you seem like you were just this military guy who went crazy. And I'm not gonna lie. For a second, I was like, is this nigga crazy? Because you wasn't really you wasn't entertaining it and you wasn't going back and forth. So I'm only just seeing what you were showing. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I've never met you, but then when I saw how they were calling into Smack Show and everything, I was like, yo, these people are crazy.
Oh, like, that one girl who called in the Smack Show, Smack lit into her.
Yes, but I'm like, you're a white person going on to a black show to try to convince black people that this black guy is wrong.
Yes,
it's not gonna happen. Like, as long as you didn't like murder your whole family, we're gonna take up for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. But now I thought of this topic earlier, and I thought of this topic with the thought in mind, like, hey, this guy that I'm talking to, he's black, so he's obviously a Democrat. But now I'm excited about this topic. Your views on Biden and Harris. Now, this isn't to shit on them. But the funny thing is, I was talking with my girl earlier, and so she was asking me like, "Hey, so you nervous? Whatever." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, because this is the one of the first like really political people that I have on here, and we were talking about like Trump and everything, and so I was telling her I thought you were a Democrat, but then we came to the conclusion that when Trump was in office, we were always talking about something. Man, I literally forgot Biden and Harris was president because I haven't heard nothing. The only thing I've heard from them is that they want to ban menthol cigarettes, and I'm like, oh my god, because I smoke Newports. So that's the only thing I've heard. But now that I know that you're, I don't want to say Republican. Now that I know that you're conservative, what is your thoughts on them? Because my conservative friends, I never see any real thought process on them. I just see like memes and stuff, and like every party just kind of hates each other now, and nobody really has any facts on each other. They just kind of just make jokes.
Yeah, well, and everyone wants to think with their emotions, but not with
right.
their intellect. So obviously, I could not vote for Trump because I got to stand before God one day, and I couldn't do that. So then it's like, how do I feel about Biden and Harris? The easiest way I can sum this up, because I also want to be respectful of your time and all that kind of stuff. And if you have any questions, obviously feel free to ask me. I'm here.
Yeah.
As long as you want to be here, and people can always contact me later. But My real quick views on Biden and Harris reminds me a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement. And the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of Black people who want nothing to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. Because unfortunately, in some instances, it has gotten hijacked by some white people who just want some microphone time, or by some people who say they care about the Black community, but what they're really trying to do is shift money over to this particular political candidate or this particular cause that doesn't really help the Black community.
Yeah.
So on the surface, we're like, Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, Black lives do matter. But then I realized that's not what we're actually doing. And same thing with Biden and Harris. I've never met them personally. And without digging too much in their campaign, the only thing that concerns me is they're not actually going to be able to affect the changes that need to be affected in the Black and brown community, because a lot of the liberal agenda is not just for the Black and brown community. There are other sub agendas. And I think some of those other agendas are kind of taking the spotlight when the thing that should be taking the spotlight is some of the plights in the Black and brown community. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that worries me. Because I mean, whether you're talking about immigration, whether you're talking about like even down to the COVID bills, I mean, man, some of these white-owned companies were just snatching up all the money before a Black business could get the money. I mean, literally, there's maybe I think 3, maybe 4, kind of prominent barbecue places here in Georgetown, and of course, one of them is a Black-owned business, and they went bankrupt. I mean, they went out of business, and I was really sad because he's the only Black-owned, barbecue place. You get some brisket and whatnot here, and I really didn't like that. But yet, the city of Georgetown had grants that they gave to certain businesses. I think we could probably logically conclude that his business was one that did not get that. And that's what I mean about when it comes back to Biden and Harris. You mean well, and I understand you're for our agenda, but what are you actually doing for our community instead of focusing on things that are? It just seems like they're not. I don't want to go so strong as use the word puppet, but they're kind of tied. Their hands are tied to do things in other communities at a faster pace than they're doing.
I agree with that. I didn't get into it with somebody, but one of my friends on Facebook got mad because I posted about how Biden quickly made a like the Asian holiday for the killing and all that stuff, but they didn't. There's nothing for like slaves, and somebody was like, yo, this is why we're so separated, because this is what y'all think about. But I'm like, we're getting killed every week. Like we're getting killed every week, and then we just gotta watch us get screwed. You know what I mean? Like just like the lady who walked into the Dallas guy in the Dallas house and killed the guy. She got 10 years in jail. Then then they try to get the appeal. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, I understand that. If somebody goes out and like goes to like say Georgetown and you kill a whole bunch of Jews, that they might have a Jew holiday, something. And I mean, and that sounds very problematic. Like now when I say that sounds very problematic. So I don't mean anything by that. But I think that now Black people like people look at us like, yeah, shut up. You know what I mean? Like we can't complain about stuff because they're like, oh well, it's been happening.
Well, and that's the problem with systemic racism. It doesn't matter what you're doing today. You've done something for so long. It's kind of like if you break one of your bones, but you don't set it correctly. It healed, and yeah, maybe it's behind us, but it healed crooked. And every doctor will tell you the only way to fix that is they have to re-break it, set it correctly, then let it heal from there. We never made sure that the injustices that happened to the Black community were healed correctly, and they wonder why we're a little bit unhappy right now.
But do you think that we can let it heal correctly? Because my theory has been that once it gets to a certain point, they just offer stuff to Black people, and like they know niggas is gonna take. Like if somebody says, "Hey, here's $10,000 to just chill," like people are gonna take it because we don't get nothing. You know what I'm saying? And we're at the lowest of the low. And I feel like now not Black people, but a lot of people just want to feel love, want to be a part of something. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? And so, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's why you gotta run for mayor. I mean, I'm not taking any handout. You
Yeah.
you have to re-break the bone and set it correctly. That's
Right.
why we have to do this, because no, I don't need your peddly little money, you know, just to
Yeah.
shut up and go back to the other side of the sidewalk. No, thank you.
So let me ask you this: what would you do if you became mayor? What would you do?
One of the first things is representation. The mayor actually is the one who determines who's on all the boards and commissions that recommend stuff to the city council, which then ends up getting voted on and changes. And if you have let's just say, use easy numbers. If you have a population of, let's say, 100,000 people and 20,000 people are Black, that is 1/5. So let's just say you have 5 city council members or 5 superintendent, 5 people on the school board or whatever. Ask me how many people are Black in these leadership positions. 0.
Right.
So that's the problem, is we don't have any representation. We've been there, but not in charge. So I would be very aggressive in making sure, why is it because we live on another side of town? Is it because we haven't been getting applicants from them? Now, I'm not trying to preach an affirmative action concept, but I'm saying we have got to get down to the bottom of how come we have no representation in our communities. I would find a way to make that happen. Clearly, there's some sort of barrier that had been set up by the system to prevent qualified applicants of color from being able to achieve positions that they are able to and should be in, but somehow got dismissed. I mean, even down to HR departments, there's been studies on this. I mean, if your name is, Jamal Brown, and and your resume gets in the stack, and then there's someone else's name is, Connor Smith. I mean, whose resume is going to get looked at? This is there's been studies about this. So I, as mayor, would look at that resume and give it a fighting chance. In fact, it might find its way to the top. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I like that my name's Darian Wallace, because it just kind of confuses it. Like, is this a guy or a girl? Because I knew a girl named Darian growing up, so I was like, hey, this is a girl name. But do you think that? So you said you ran as Republican, right?
No, actually, I ran as a moderate. I was painted, obviously. As
so that's the real thing.
Well, yeah, it's only because in my city, there's no D or R next to our name on the ballot. Some cities, there is a D or an R or an I for independent or whatever, libertarian, L. But in Georgetown, which is why I like the idea of running for a city mayor, because there's no D or R. I am not a Democrat or Republican. I'm Jonathan, who's going to try to represent my community. On the county side and on the state side, yes, you do have to run as a Democrat or Republican. But I'll tell you, I attended more Republican meet and greets, and because I am connected with the governor, like I've been to his mansion a couple of times, the kids love it. He invites us down for the Hanukkah party, birthday parties, other things.
Nice.
I'm more connected in the Republican circles. But first of all, after how they treated me, I mean, even down to the Republican Party chairman stealing all my campaign signs over that tequila post. And when I asked him, I was like, well, what about President Trump, who's going around doing stuff? Have you still stole his campaign signs? Well, that's different. I'm like, well, you tell me what's different,
Why did he steal your signs, though?
Because he wanted to influence the election.
Did he personally steal them?
Yes, yeah. Police report, video evidence, everything.
And he was running for something?
No, he's the Republican Party chairman here in Williamson County, and I reported him to the police.
He should have just hired some kids. Like, that's when you know you're low, where you're just doing it yourself.
Or you know that you can get away with it.
True. Yeah. See, being Black, I don't even think about those options. Sadly.
But it's not an option. It's not like we can hire some high-profile lawyer. Our dad golfs with the judge at the country club, etc. So all that stuff disappears.
If I would have stole some election signs, that'd have been justice for Moke. I would have been gone. So, but look, so if you're running, say you win. So do you not think it's going to be hard, because you're still going to be the only Black person there?
There's going to be a target on my back.
But I mean, even the people you work with, like, do you feel like they're just going to follow suit with everything you say?
No, they're probably not. And that's fine. We can let people go. I mean, I was an MBA. I managed multi-million-dollar budgets for both PepsiCo and for Michelin. When I was in the Navy, I was a Navy officer. I've had to give sailors a dishonorable discharge because they violated regulations. Yeah. And I have never had a single employee that I fired ever be able to get rehired or overturned by HR. I've never had a sailor that we put out that we got sued for. It never happened because I dot all my I's and cross my T's. I know how to change organizations around, and I look for doing that for Georgetown and doing it with a smile too.
So, okay, so look, why not, instead of doing that, you go get you one of these big corporate jobs and just hire a bunch of black people?
I'm gonna do that too.
But I guess in all seriousness, in Georgetown for mayor, what are the changes that could be made that a mayor can do?
So, I mean, something as simple as, okay, so let's just say, actually, this is a problem. We do not have enough affordable housing here in Georgetown because, of course, we think we're just a rich white community. There's no homeless people. There's no poor people, etc. A lot of the black people are getting priced out of their own city. And another thing is also when we had that big snowmageddon, you know, those rolling power outages, what they literally did was they cut off power in certain neighborhoods. And I had people taking pictures. And what's funny was there were some black neighborhoods who never had power. And then there's a lot of white neighborhoods who had power the whole time. There were schools without children in them that had power. There was city buildings that had power right across the street from a black neighborhood who didn't have power. So there's a lot of things you can do. Anyway, what happens is decisions in the city of Georgetown, it's different on the state side, federal side, blah, blah, but decisions happen, right? Usually a decision goes to a committee. A committee says, we want to do this, we want to do that. This is how we're going to make changes. We need more affordable housing. We realize that 30% of the population here in Georgetown is renters and needs apartment complexes and renting, but our availability is at 20%. So how do we increase it? We can incentivize the building of apartment complexes or something of that sort, right? I'm oversimplifying it, right? But so it goes to a committee. The committee makes a recommendation to the city, and then the city council either votes to approve that we're going to make those incentives in order to help build and encourage the building of more apartment complexes, or they say, no, we're not going to do it. The problem is the mayor is the sole person who recommends who goes on all those committees. So he puts on those committees all the people who would do exactly what he wants. So he literally controls the process from the bottom to the top. So what I would do is all of a sudden, magically, there are going to be diverse, qualified applicants that actually get to be on all of these boards and commissions and committees. So that way, when they make their decisions, they're not just making a decision that's good for people who look like them, as in the majority of the people in Georgetown, but the people that represents all of the people in Georgetown. That way, the decision that comes up to the mayor and the city council that we vote on actually is going to help the entire city, not just certain parts of the city. And then it's just gonna magically happen. People are gonna like, man, that was fast. But we're actually gonna reflect the leadership is gonna reflect the actual demographics of the city.
What I love is that you're a black dude and you already live in a country club, so like they can't pay your ass off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you good.
Well, they tried. They tried, actually. In the very beginning, they literally, and I say they, I'm not going to mention the names because I'm going to be nice. These are elected officials, some of the more affluent people in the city. They brought me into a meeting one day and they said, look, we don't want to cause any trouble, but we would like you not to run for mayor. We want you to run for something else. And I said, why? And they're like, well, it's not your turn yet. And I said, but you're not all of the voters. Like, you don't speak for everyone. It's not me. It's not my turn. Maybe it is. You don't have that power. And they're like, well, we actually do have a lot of money. I said, well, I'll write you a check right now if you run for something different. And just because I like to play with people. I was like, well, wait, like, what kind of numbers are we talking? They gave me a number. I was like, ooh, that's actually kind of nice, but no. No.
Yeah, that's good. We need people like you, because me, they'll be like, here's this number, and then the screen changes. I'm in Mexico somewhere. Now, I know I said that 45 minutes to an hour, but I do want to touch on this really quick with you. What can we do to avoid a civil war? And now I know that I asked you earlier, some topics or whatever, and you brought this up. But the funny thing is when George Floyd had just died, I was living in Dallas, and there was a point in life, at least for 3 months that I was ready to die for Black people. Like I was ready to go to war. You know what I'm saying? And so avoiding the Civil War. Do you think there's one in the future? What can we do to avoid it?
I wholeheartedly think that our country is headed towards another civil war. Frankly,
Yeah.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist on most things. You know, I know people out there, they believe the Earth is flat. There's aliens and there's all, you know, chemtrails and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to say what I do and don't believe in, but I do believe that the divisiveness and the heads butting is coming to it's about to explode.
Yeah.
So we've got two options. Option number one is you sit back and let other people fight on the front lines for you. Because it's
but how does that affect your household though? Now that you have a white wife.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's safe inside of our house, and I can keep my family safe. That I do know I can do, and I'm surrounded by other people that, you know, I've got friends, I've got family that I think we can take care of ourselves.
I know, but what I'm saying is, after all this shit go down, like at some point you can't just be a white person thinking that okay, all white people, like this is all white people's fault. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point I feel like you have to, I don't want to say hold down your race, but you start empathizing with what's going on because now it's bigger than like a presidency or whatever. Now it's like you're fighting for color.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry.
You know, I want to make sure I understand your question. So go ahead.
And I mean, like if that was to happen, I mean, and I guess I can't even. There's really no question because it hasn't happened. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. And so I don't want to throw that out there. But being in the interracial, because I know for me, I felt a type of way when I was living in the Virgin Islands, and my ex, her first thing would be like, "Well, white people are slaves first," and she would just downplay like Black slavery.
Okay.
And I felt a super type of way. So I could imagine if there's a civil war going on and there's just this crazy shit. Y'all live in a country club, so there's very few of you sprinkled in. And I'm just playing a weird devil's advocate right now. And I've been drinking a little bit of wine too. You know what I'm saying? so that's what's going on. But do you think that will affect your marriage, affect the bond between you and your wife? Because your wife seems pretty cool and she seems like she understands what's going on, but when it gets to that point.
Yes. So now I think I better understand your question. So I think we have a couple positives for us. Number one, my wife is from upstate New York. So like she said, she's a Yankee.
Yeah,
we know what side she's on. So it's not like,
right.
Oh, you're making fun of my great grandpa, you know, Robert E. Lee, and the Confederacy was actually good.
Right.
So
yeah.
She's not saying something like that, you know. And even early on in our marriage, she even used to say something like, you know, we had like some peanuts and some cashews and some trail nuts and stuff all in a bowl. And she was picking out this one, you know, the real big one. She's like, "Oh, I love these. You know, these are the nigger toes." And I said, "What? What did you just say?" She's like, "Those are nigger toes. I thought that's what they're called." Like, you never, ever say that again.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do you call them? So I had to, you know, but anyways, and then the other thing is like, you know, sometimes she has some popcorn, you know, and she just, you know, freshly made it. And I reach my hand in and grab a little bit of popcorn. She's like, "Get your cotton picking hands on my popcorn." I said, "What did you say?" And she's like, "I thought that's what you say, cotton picking hands." And I had to walk through, who picked cotton? And then she's like,
yeah.
So
she's from New York, yeah.
Education, I think, is the first step. After having gotten through a lot of that, and now that she does see, yes, when you get pulled over, she's actually seen me being pulled over by police before, and she saw the interaction completely unfold and was like, yeah, that is a lot different than when I get pulled over.
Yeah.
So she reminds me, if this was a civil war, of people who were in the Underground Railroad helping Black people. So she's on a different side than some of the other people. So I think she would be okay, and I think our marriage will be okay. If I were married to a Southern belle, you know, who...
you hung.
That would be a different... Yeah, that would be a different situation. So I think our marriage will be okay. I'm actually more concerned with... Actually, I have some conservative friends who I am their only Black friend. And they are much more against racial equality, with the exception of myself. Those are the ones that I'm going to have to finally get to the point where I'm going to say, look, I'm going to need you to be quiet this next week, or I can't protect you anymore.
Yeah, because that's moving the goalposts, being like, I don't like interracial anything, but you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well not like me.
I can't protect some of those people forever. I'm not so
Right.
much worried about my wife, but some of my other friends, I'm like, yeah, you're
Right.
barely,
Yeah.
I barely even call you my friend. Like, you're more of an acquaintance, so just be careful.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think the Civil War is unfortunately going to happen, and unfortunately, I think it's going to take some of that for people to understand that this is how we fix a broken bone that was never set correctly. It's going to have to be rebroken.
And I mean, I hate to sound like that hood ass guy, but I'm just gonna sound like it. If there's a civil war happening, people are gonna feel sorry for those niggas that they locked up in the hood that are 14 years old and know how to shoot guns very well.
Yeah, well, even down to there's I'm not going to tell you what type of business because I'm gonna give them their confidentiality, but there is a business that sells things that are very expensive. And when all the protests were happening, they literally called me. There were people who voted for me, a Caucasian couple, and they were like, "Hey, can you go down and kind of help bring the the tensions down a little bit and make sure people don't come looting our building?"
Yeah,
and I was at the event and I did keep tensions, in control, and no looting happened with their building. But there's probably some other business owners that would be like, you know what, actually, I'm busy today or that day, So because you can't just say we've held on to you as our one black friend for a moment like this for you to protect us.
Right.
So it depends on who's talking here. These were people who I actually do respect, and they're people that have helped me outside of their time of need. Other businesses, I might be eating my wife's popcorn while she's over there saying, "Take your cotton picking hands out of it," just watching it happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Because
you weren't worried about me earlier, so I'm not worried about you
today. Yeah. And that's crazy that was like a thing that happened to you. You know what I mean? That they went to you and was like, "Hey, can you please make sure this doesn't happen?" I mean, as much as like, thank you for the respect, but that's also kind of fucked up that you're even asking me that.
There's lots of ways to look at it. I looked at it kind of going back to that very initial question, some of the questions you're asking me. I think it's an honor to be like, we know that you have the influence. We know that you can make shit happen. So hopefully we haven't upset you. And they're not someone who has upset me, but there are people who have upset me who, I mean, I'm just not going to stop someone else from throwing the rock that they want to throw. That's all I'm saying. I'm just gonna leave it there at that.
That's dope, man. Man, this is great.
Yeah,
this is really great. Wow.
I'm available anytime, brother, man. I like I said, I know you got your time and your audience and whatnot, but seriously, call me anytime, man. We'll chat. People reach out to me. I'm good.
I definitely want to have you on again, man. Like, this was it caught me off guard just because I didn't know your credentials were so official. You know what I'm saying? So that caught me way off guard. But I mean, I like to hear what you're talking about, because when I was telling my friends, I was like, yeah, I'm talking to a black dude who ran for mayor in Georgetown. Everybody's just like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I hate that you didn't win, because even though I didn't know you, I just felt good about the shit. You know what I'm saying? I literally thought you were gonna win. But then once I just kind of was hearing how them, I hate to say the word, but how these white women were coming after you on Smack Show, I was like, oh yeah, this nigga's toast. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, and for me, I'm one of the people to say you would do so much better outside of Georgetown, but in the same breath, if I stand up and I applaud you, because you're going face first against all odds.
Yes, sir.
Win or lose or draw, at least here at Moke and Friends. Moke and Friends is actually me and my homeboy who's never on the show. But we are proud. We are proud of you, being a black man, to say like, hey, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna go after whatever, and I'm gonna try to make a new way for my people. And even if I fail, somebody will be watching and say like, yo, well, this nigga did it, so I can do it. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate I appreciate you not even knowing me. Like, this is our first time talking, like, you know what I mean? Like talking and seeing each other. And I really appreciate you for coming on here, man. And I really toned it down because I told myself and I told my mom I wasn't going to be cursing all crazy on this show. And just because out of respect of what you do, but now I'm looking at your credentials. I'm like, damn, like once you told me you had the theology thing, I really I took so many curse words out of my out of my vocabulary. Like I probably said maybe 7 curse words tonight, and I'm very proud of myself. You know what I mean?
I think I probably matched your 7 first of all.
I said, hey, this guy's kind of spicy. I heard a couple.
And one thing I'll say is, and I know you got to close it down, but something I remember, I having gone to Prairie View, and my dad, he raised us to be aware of our surroundings. I had a mentor once tell me, when shit hits the fan, you're black. And what that means is you can act white, you can talk white, you can have all these degrees, everything else. But when the shit hits the fan, you're black. And whether you're in jail, whether it's a civil war, whatever, you are black. And I've obviously never been to jail, like I talked about earlier. But when this hits the fan, I'm ready to be like, you know what? The white people aren't going to be there necessarily for me. And I know my people. And
okay, but see now you're opening a can of worms. If you're gonna be like that, my question earlier was, if you're gonna be like that, and that's dope, what are you gonna do to the people who are coming at you and your family because you have a white family?
You talking like black people coming at me or white people coming at me?
Just period. Because don't get it twisted. All black people aren't for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's some black people that are for us, but they're not going to be for whoever because I got Mexican kids or you got white kids. You know what I'm saying? So when that happens, what are you going to do? I know you're going to pick family over everything, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's a civil war. What are we going to do?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna have to sit there and like, look, this person is not your enemy. I'm willing to fight with you against people who really are your enemy. But in my house is safe. These are people.
But look, that's true. But when George Floyd died, bro, every white person was my enemy. I'm in Dallas in Kroger's looking at white people just like I wish you would say something. You know what I'm saying? And I always say that to say that, you know what I mean? Like if that happens, what are we as black men to do? Because we have biracial families.
I think our job. So in that situation, my priority is God. Do what God tells me to do. My second priority is protect my family. So I am going to protect my family. But I think it's actually some of those random white people who have not stood up sooner and spoken against it. My job is not to necessarily protect them. That's between them and their situation. And those are the people I'm more worried about. I'm not really worried about my family because they're on our side. They've been helping, and maybe they just need to lay low for a little while. But it's those random people who didn't speak up, just like in Nazi Germany. It was all those random Germans who didn't speak up. They got looped in with the rest of them,
Yep, very true.
And as a Jew, I'm not going to be crying a river.
I know that's right.
I'm like, I'm sorry. You should have spoke up sooner.
But any last words for the people where they can find you? Anything?
Well, yeah, just JonathanDay.com. I mean, obviously, I got a Facebook and Twitter.
Wait, but JonathanDay.com?
Yeah, just type in my name, JonathanDay.com. It'll bring you to my sites and stuff. I'm always working on projects.
Nice.
But, I actually I want to stay connected with you, brother, man. So I'm gonna be obviously watching podcasts. Whether I come on another one or whatnot. We have a lot of work to do. It's not gonna be easy, folks. So I mean, but the reason why I ran is because I don't want people to give up, and I want you guys to know that we have a chance. Yeah. And even though we didn't win yesterday, it doesn't mean we can't win tomorrow. So let's get at it.
Hey, is that your slogan?
Nah, it's just, I mean, you go and take that one, man.
No, that should be your slogan, because that reminded me of like Obama, yes, we can.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that's dope. I'm not going to take that because I'm not running for shit. And and I already told you, if they wrote me a check, I would take it. So I should joke like that. I don't even know if that's a joke. It depends how much it is. But hey, man, I really appreciate you for being on my show. Thank you. I definitely do. I definitely do want to stay in contact with you too.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
I definitely do. So we will talk soon.
Yeah, man. All right. Peace, man. Take care.
All right. See you. Moke and friends. that was a very great episode. I enjoyed myself talking with him. I hope this nigga runs again, and I hope he wins. You know what I'm saying? Shout out everybody watching, who's going to watch. Shout out Jonathan Day, man. That's a cool dude. Shout out his wife Melinda, and shout out Kay and Dude. And I guess I'm finna it's raining here in Austin, so I'm about to go enjoy this rain and get the fuck out of here. Peace.